So let's talk about capital budgeting as our introductory part of this topic of ours. Now, when we talk about capital budgeting, I have said that we also mean investment decision. So this one is another name of investment decision. And I want us to be very, very fast. So it's also called investment decision. So also called investment decision. And how do you define it? How do we define the term? We can say it refers to the decision. It refers to the decisions. It refers to the decisions which involve deciding, whether or not to undertake a capital project. Projects. So these are the decisions which involves whether to undertake a particular project. So it's either you decide or you reject a particular project. Then you can say it involves evaluation. So it involves evaluation of each capital project, project viability. So it involves evaluation of each project's viability, i.e., is the project generating revenue or losses? The project generating revenue or losses. So that decision which involves analyzing a particular project, which we term it a capital project, whether to know if they're making losses or they're generating revenue, then that process is what we call the capital budgeting. So the decision whether to undertake a particular project or not. So we can say, we can also add this one. Investment decisions involves evaluation. So involve evaluation and allocation of resources to various competing projects. So that's all about it. So investment decision involves evaluating and allocating resources to various competing projects. But remember, resources are scarce, and therefore we need to make optimal decision. Remember, the resources are scarce, and therefore we need to make use of the optimal resources. We need to make use of the optimal resources. Type of projects. Type of projects. Type of projects. Type of projects. So number one, we can talk about is replacement. So number one, talk about replacement stroke modernization project. Modernization projects. So talk about replacement stroke modernization project, and we say these are projects which involves replacing an old machine with a new machine. So these are projects which involves replacing an old machine with new machine. So involves these are project which involves replacing an old machine with a new machine. Alafu make sure your phone is upright, don't auto rotate your phone. Kama unatumia simu, make sure simu yako iko upright, usi tilt. Uitumie venye unatumianga in a normal situation, so don't tilt it. Yes. So this video also I post kule YouTube later, but not soon. So utakuwa unaenda kucheck pia for the purpose of revisit, then you make sure you like and subscribe. Anyway, number 2 now. So reason for replacement. So reasons for replacements. So how do you think a company may decide to replace a machine? So reason for replacement, number 1, we can talk about change in technology. Due to change in technology, making the machine obsolete, making the machine obsolete. That's the reason number 1. So a situation where a situation where the machine becomes obsolete. So because of changing technology. Number 2, so desire to maximize company production and efficiency. So desire to maximize companies productivity and efficiency. So desire to maximize company productivity and efficiency. Now, remember when the machine tends to become old, so as the machine tends to become old, then the productivity of that machine reduces, or the efficiency of that machine reduces, and therefore a company will opt to replace the old machine with a new machine in order to maximize the productivity or efficiency. And then the last one, in case the old machine becomes in case the old machine becomes expensive to maintain. So to maintain, andikwaje? Maintain. I think in evil. So in case the old machine becomes expensive to maintain. Now in that case, then the company will opt to buy a new one. So if the cost of replacement, if the cost of repairing from time to time is very expensive, then the company will opt to replace that machine with a new machine, with a new machine. We move on. Number two. Number two, we have mutual exclusive project. Number two, mutually exclusive projects. So mutually exclusive projects. What are these projects? So talk about mutually exclusive projects. These are projects which cannot be undertaken spontaneously. So these are projects which cannot be undertaken. These are projects which cannot be undertaken simultaneously. These are the projects which cannot be undertaken simultaneously because they serve a similar purpose. So because they serve a similar purpose. So because they serve a similar purpose. Because they serve a similar purpose. So once you want to take one, it excludes the other one. So once you want to take one, it excludes the other one. So you cannot do them at the same time. So you cannot do them at the same time. So once you start one, then there's a need to do what? To exclude the other one. So there's need to exclude the other one. Okay. So I hope that one iko fine baka hapo. So there's need to they serve a similar purpose. So I hope the screen is clear. And you can see it clearly. Let's go to the next project, number three. The next project is number 3. So we go on the other side hapa. So make sure unaandika kwa sababu nikitoka kwa hiyo laini you might not be able to see it again. So I think hapo iko sawa. Let's talk about number 3. Number 3 is the next project, number 3, divisible and indivisible project. So number 3, divisible and indivisible project. So divisible and indivisible projects. Now, when I talk about divisible and divisible projects are projects which can be undertaken in stages. So divisible projects. So divisible projects are projects which can be undertaken in stages. Which can be undertaken in stages. I.e., what can we say? I.e., it can generate revenue before it fully complete, before it is. So it can generate revenue before it is fully completed. Before it is fully completed. So that's number 3, divisible projects. So these are the projects which can be undertaken in stages, meaning you can take them in portion. A good example is under construction industry. So a good example is under construction industry, where you have a tender of maybe constructing a road. Now, a road can be constructed in portion, even before So once once you start building a road, you can build maybe 10 kilometer. Then after that, you can build another 20 kilometer and so on. So you can do them in stages. But it does not mean that that road will not be used. Even if it is 10 kilometer, then the 10 kilometer will be used, even if the final project is not completed. Then you have indivisible. That one was divisible. That one is divisible. Now, indivisible projects. So before we write about the indivisible, let us add something here. Before we write about indivisible, let us add something here. Very important for divisible. So divisible projects are usually undertaken. So divisible projects are undertaken under. The people are also undertaken under the condition of capital rationing. So the project also undertaken under the condition of capital rationing, and you can say that capital rationing, let's define it. Capital rationing. So it's a situation. It is a situation where the firm does not have enough capital to undertake all the viable projects, projects. So it's fine. So when I talk about divisible projects, these are the projects which can be undertaken. So divisible project which can be undertaken in stages. So stage 1, stage 2. Now, kama kampuni haina pesa ya undertake all the project in full, wanaamua undertake that projects in a particular stage. So wanamaliza stage 1 kwanza, watafute pesa waendelee stage 2. And therefore, the aspect of capital rationing comes in. So capital rationing is a situation where the firm does not have enough money to undertake all the viable projects, and therefore they need to select. And therefore they need to do what? To select the best projects. So into brackets, insufficiency fund. Insufficient fund. So that is all about capital rationing. So it's a situation where the firm does not have enough capital to undertake all the viable projects. Into bracket, insufficient funds. Now let's talk about indivisible. Projects. Indivisible projects. So what can we say about indivisible projects? Now, indivisible projects which cannot be undertaken in stages. So these are projects which cannot be undertaken in stages. So projects which cannot be undertaken in stages, i.e., it cannot generate revenue until it is fully completed. So in short, that project cannot be used to generate revenue until it is fully completed. Number 4, dependent and independent. Dependent and independent projects. dependent, and independent projects. So what can we say about dependent and independent projects? What can we say? Now, let us see what we can say. So we start with dependent, and you can say dependent projects are also called complementary projects. So dependent projects are also called complementary projects. So dependent projects are also called complementary projects, and we can define it now. They're also called complementary. So refer to the project which give rise to other projects. These are projects which give rise to other projects. Projects. So these are projects which give rise to other projects. A good example is an opening of a university in a particular location will give rise to what? Shopping centers. So that's a good example. Or an opening of a college in a particular location might give rise to opening of shopping center to that area. So shopping centers or residential centers. So that's a good example. So when a university is open in a particular region, in a new region, then it might give rise to other projects like shopping center and residential centers, recreational facilities like gym, swimming. Projects are projects which cannot be undertaken simultaneously. Which can be undertaken. So independent projects are projects which can be undertaken simultaneously. So independent projects are projects which can be undertaken simultaneously. So projects which can be undertaken simultaneously. So projects which can be undertaken simultaneously because they serve different purpose. Because they serve different purpose. Because they serve different purpose. So hapo. So tunasema these are projects which can be undertaken simultaneously because they serve different purpose. That one is fine. I think that one is well explained. So those are some of the examples of projects which you can find. So I think it was the Metosha. Characteristics of capital budgeting. So number one of the main examples, they are long-term in nature. So remember, hapa tunaongelea kuna assets, a building, a road. So those are examples of capital projects, projects which require a huge amount of money. So you can build an exam, you define what is a capital budget, not capital budget, a capital item. Now, a capital item it's a long-term asset, which requires a lot of money to finance, which requires a lot of money to finance. So it's an asset, a long-term asset. Now, one of the characteristics of a long-term asset is that they are long-term in nature. Number one, they are long-term. They are long-term in nature. It will be used for more than one period. Meaning it will be used for more than one period. Number two, they are very expensive to undertake. They are very expensive to maintain. So they are very expensive to maintain. That's one is another characteristics. They are very expensive to maintain. I think I will go to the other side because of space. So let me shift. So they are very expensive to maintain. This one is to maintain. So they are very expensive to maintain. And then you can also add this one before we go to shift. They involve a lot of risk and uncertainty. They involve a lot of risk and uncertainty. So involve a lot of risk and uncertainty. So they involve a lot of risk and uncertainty. I want to move to the other side. Trying to move to the other side, Hapo. Another characteristics, apart from it being risky and uncertain, we got to say they are irreversible. They are irreversible. Irreversible. Maandika vijina vizuri. Reversible. They are reversible. So once undertaken, you cannot reverse them. So once undertaken, it is very hard. It is very hard to reverse. Then you can also say they are complex. They are complex. And so they are complex and so we can say they are complex. Let us say they are complex. So they are complex in nature. So they are complex in nature. And then another one, they affect the liquidity position of the company. They affect the liquidity position of the company. The liquidity position of the company. So they affect the liquidity position of the company. So they affect the liquidity position of the company. Alafu then ya mwisho, they affect the risk profile. They affect the risk profile and perception of investor. Perception of investor. So they are risky. So they are risk. They affect the risk profile. They affect they affect the risk. So they affect the risk profile. So they affect the risk profile and the perception of the investor and perception of the investor. So they affect the risk and the perception of the investor. So that's all about the characteristics of those investment. Those are some of the characteristics. Let's talk about capital budgeting techniques. Capital budgeting techniques. Capital budgeting technique. So capital budgeting technique. Capital budgeting technique. And what are these techniques? You can say these are technique which is applied by finance manager during evaluation of projects. So techniques. So these are techniques applied by the finance manager. By the finance manager during evaluation of projects viability. So when evaluating if the project is worth or not, or if the project is making profit or not, then we shall be using the capital budgeting technique. So we shall be using the capital budgeting technique. So the technique which is applied by finance manager during evaluation of the project viability. Now we said when we are talking about project viability, we're talking about if the project is worth or not, if the project is making losses or profits. So that is project viability. So if the project is making profit, then the project is viable. If the project is making loss, then the project is not viable. So we shall use those kind of technique. Shall use those kind of technique. Now we have to type categories. Categories. So it is categorized into two. So it is categorized into two. Number one, we have the modern technique. Am I discounted? So discounted stroke modern stroke modern. So discounted stroke modern technique. Then you have number B. We have number B, what we call traditional stroke non-discounted. So non-discounted or tradition. Or the traditional technique. Or the traditional technique. We start with which one? We start with the discounted. So I prefer to kuje in our original on our starting point. Let's go to our starting point when tulianzia. So we started at that point. So hopefully inaonekana. So in case hautaona, you just say nisikuwe niko dunia yangu kivyangu. Sawa sawa. So let me do away with that one. Let me delete this one. Let me rub. Tumesema leo ni comprehensive class. So mkue very leo mjitayarishe. Tutatoka hapa hadi saa 4. Lazima tumalize topic. Lakini mkichoka mniambie. So msiponiambia mimi naendelea tu. So msiposema mimi nitakuwa tu ninasonga nikisonga. Sawa sawa. So leo nikifika muone mmenini mniambie. So we start with the discounted. So tunasema tunaanza na discounted. Sawa sawa, I think hapo inaonekana. Sawa sawa, in case hamtaona na pia mnasema. Sawa sawa. So discounted technique, and we can define it and say this is a technique which considers time value of money. So this is a technique which considers changes in time value of money. In time value of money. So this is a technique which considers changes in time value of money. So a technique which considers changes in time value of money. Then you can say it involves determining future value of cash flows to present value. To present value meaning into bracket today. So it involves determining the future value of cash flow to present value to bracket today. Or so we can use the word today. Present value can mean today or at year 0. At year 0. So that's all about the discounting technique. So tunasema this is a method which takes into consideration changes in time value of money, and tukasema that under this technique it involves converting. Let's use the word converting. It involves converting. This is the word converting. It involves converting future value of cash flows to present value. So in short, it is used to determine present value from future cash flows. In short, tunasema it is used to determine. So the discounted technique is used to determine the present value from future value from future value. Sawa sawa. Now they include the following. They include the following. They include the following. They include the following. Number A, let's talk about net present value. net present value. Number B, profitability index. Profitability index. Number C, let's talk about internal rate of return. Internal rate of return. Number D, internal rate of return. Number D, modified internal rate of return. Modified internal rate of return. And then we are discounted payback period. Payback period. We start with the first one. Start with the first one, net present value. So we start with the first one, net present value. So hii class leo na kesho lazima iishe. Leo na kesho. So that tuingie working capital management. So mimi nataka by saa 2 kwa tumemaliza hesabu zote. Kwa sasa tuingie theory. Dumia na hesabu tuko karibu kumaliza. So leo na kesho na weekend by saa 2 jioni tukifanya class ya mwisho saa 2. Yekuwe tumemaliza hesabu zote so that the next week tufanye tu ma theory sasa. Now NPV. So start with the NPV, net present value. So it is divided by NPV. So NPV, and we can say NPV. Sorry. So you can say NPV. NPV. So it's a technique which considers time value of money, but you can say this is the difference between this is the additional benefit. So this is the additional benefit. So this is the additional benefit. So this is the additional benefit that will be generated by a particular project. That will be generated. That will be generated by a particular project. By a particular project in excess of its cost. In excess of its cost. So that one is all about it. So this is an additional benefit that will be generated by a particular project in excess of its cost. In excess of its cost. And therefore, for you to get NPV, it is the difference between the total present value minus total cost. Total initial cost. Total present value minus total cost. So we can add this one and say it is the difference between present value of cash inflows and present value of cash outflow. So this is the formula. NPV is equal to present value cash inflows. So to abbreviate the present value So present value cash inflows minus present value cash outflow. So present value cash inflows minus present value cash outflows. So ya kwanza inamaanisha this one means inamaanisha present value cash inflow, na hii inamaanisha present value cash outflow. Present value cash outflow. So present value cash inflows, and then the other one. So the difference between the two, this one, we also form NPV. So present value cash inflows minus present value cash flow. But is this one means money in also? You kama inaonekana? Aha, kidogo tu. So nasema the first one means money in, the other one means money out. So tunayasema hapa. Now also this one means money in, the other one means money out. But remember, today, the keyword is the word today. So money in and money out. Money in and money out today. So today meaning present value, meaning in present value. So meaning in present value. Okay. Once tumefanya hivyo, we can go to the next part. Hapo. So tuendelee na hapo, ujaze. Sawa sawa. I think hapo iko sawa. Okay, let us now move on. So to the next decision criteria for NPV. Decision criteria. Ama decision rule. Let's call it decision rule. Decision rule. Let's call it decision rule. Now, what's our decision rule under this criteria? Yes. Now, decision rule is either we accept or reject. Now, this is the decision rule. So, if NPV is positive, so if NPV is positive, we accept the project. And then if NPV is negative, we reject. We reject the project. And then if NPV is 0, if NPV is 0, then it's a point of indifference. then it is a point of indifference, meaning no valid decision. So meaning no valid decision, meaning no valid decision. Now let's go to our past paper. Let us go to our past paper. We do for NPV first. Let's go to our past paper. So open the past paper. Let us move to our past paper. I hope you have the past paper with you. So past paper. Now December 2023, question number 1B. December 2023, question number 1B. So December 2023, question number 1B. So December 2023, question number 1B. December 2023, question number 1B. I want to calculate what? So aina NPV, but we let us calculate. So aina NPV, but assume they are requesting also to calculate NPV for now. Now, Mapema Ltd is considering investing in one of the two mutual exclusive projects. The relevant cash flows are given below. We have the initial investment and we have the cash flows. Now, additional information, cost of capital is 15%. The cash flow accrued at the end of each year. So the cash flow appear at the end of each year. So required, so hapa kwa yetu hakuna NPV, but let us add NPV. Let us assume they wanted NPV. So question number 1B. So computation of NPV. So hakuuliza but tujipe kazi. Computation of NPV. Now we have years. So you start with the years. Then cash flow. Then you go to present value. Present value interest factor. This one means present value interest factor. This one means present value interest factor. Interest factor. And then ya mwisho present value. Then present value. So that is all about it. We shall make use of our table. So make sure you have the table with you. Mini konayo. So make sure you have the table with you. Now you have from year 1 up to year 6 to year 1. So you start with year 0. Let us start with year 0 today. Year 0. Let us go to year 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mpaka year 6. Mpaka year 6. Sijui kama hapo inaonekana. Maana nimeenda chini sana. Inaonekana? Sawa sawa. Now mimi nitaweka hivyo. So let's start with year 0. At year 0, we start with our cost of the project. So at year 0, Kumbuke, we are starting with the cost of the project. Now, according to the question, at year 0, the cost of project is the initial investment. It is 57, 750. So another project X. So this is for project X. So another project X. So I'm starting with project X. So it is 57, 500. So 57, 500. So the initial investment is at the beginning of the period, and therefore it is 0. Then we have year 1, that is 7, 500. So there was a cash inflows. Then year 3, there was not a cash flow, but there was an outflow. 16,500, this one is an outflow. Then you have 30,000. 30,000. We have 22,500. 22,500. 22,500. We have 9,000. We have 9,000. And we have 7,500. 7,500. Now, we need to come up with the present value inflow. So the present value inflow for year 1 is equal to 0. Y is equals to 1. So that one you need to remember that the present value inflow factor for year 0 at the beginning of the investment, so the initial investment, is always equal to 1. And therefore this one will become, so this one times this one, the one is 57, 500. Now we need to find for year 1. So we use our table. So we shall use the end period table. We shall use the end period table, the one for 1 plus R raised to negative n to the premier here. We shall use that table. And I have that table in my own side. So you come on your own side. So the premier table, which goes with this rate. And then you go up. So in most cases in an exam, in the Kwanga side, so you have two tables to call. Now the one for end period, present value interest factor at the end of end period. So that is not to because the cash flows are not the same. But the cash flows are the same, from year 1 to mwisho, then you go to the one yoko chini for the one for annuity. So what we're getting ngapi according to the question. So the rate cost of capital was 15%. So natumia 15% hapa. So 0.8696. 0.8696. Then 0.7561. 0.6575. Then 0.5718. Then 0.4972. Then year 6. 0.4323. 0.4323. Now let us find the figures from our table. So tunachukua 37,500 times 0.8696, which is 32,610. So 32,610. Then minus, so in minus 16,500. So minus 16,500 times 0.7561. So this one is minus 12,475.65. Then you have 30,000 times 0.6575. 19,725. Then 22,500 times 0.57, 18, which is 12,865.5. Then you have 9,000 times 0.4972, which is 74.8. Then you have 7,500 times 0.4323, which is 32.42.25. Now we need to find the, so we said that NPV is equal to present value cash inflows minus present value cash outflow. Now we need to find the present value inflow. Let's find the present value inflow. Now our present value inflow, it is from year 1 mpaka year 6. Then the present value outflow is the initial investment, which is year 1 only. So this one represent our present value cash outflow, and this one represent our present value cash inflows. So at the initial investment at year 0, initial investment, it is our present value cash outflow, the 57,500. Then the rest, kutoka year 1 mpaka 6, we turn them as a present value inflow. So itakuwa ni 32,610, hata kama tuko na negative, 32,610 minus 12, 475.65 plus 19, 725 plus 12, 865.5 plus 4474 plus 4474 plus 4474.8 plus 3242.25. So this one is equals to 60,441.9. We are supposed to less our initial cost ni ngapi? Our initial cost ni ile pale juu 57,500. So much is that? So NPV itakuwa ngapi? Itakuwa minus 57,500, which is 41.9. Then you can say the project has a positive NPV. So the project has a positive NPV. Now we do the same for project Y. So in project X, so this one is for project X. We do the same for project Y. We do the same for project Y. So we do the same for project Y. I think we can go to the other side. I think we can go to the other side, this side. So we do for project X. Apa, project Y. So to same years. Cash flows. Present value inflow factor. Then talk about present value. Tunaenda year 0. So at year 0, what is the cash flow? Kama inaonekana, I hope ni visible. I think hapo inaonekana. So at year 0, so what is our project? What is the amount at year 0? So at year 0, per initial investment ni ngapi? 55,500. So we have 55,500. 500. Na nikasema nikwambia at year 0, the present value interest factor is equals to 1. So itakuwa ni 1.000. So ukichukua hii times 1 to still be remaining. Remember it is negative. Because it is an outflow for somebody at the beginning. 55,500. This is for project X. That one is for project X. Now let's go to year 1. So what's our cash inflow at year 1? Wanatuambia in this question ni 45,000. 45,000. Aya. What about year 2? Aya, 45,000. Aya, then we have 12,000. Then you have minus 6,000. You have negative 6,000. We talk on negative 6,000. You have 33,000. 33,000. You have minus 15,000. Minus 15,000. Then 22,500. Then 22,500. Then 22,500. Now let us find the present values so that we can add them together baadaye. Let's find the present values. Now, according to the question, we have them here. It is 15%. Remember, it is 15%. Remember, it is 15%. Remember, it is 15%, and they have about 15%. So it's a 0 point, the same 0.86, 96, 0.75, 61, 0.65, 0.65, 75. Then you have 0.57, 18, 0.49, 72, 0.43, 23. So we multiply. So 45 times 0.86, 12,000 times 0.7561, minus 6,000 times 0.6575, 30,000 times 0. So we multiply so that you can see the answer. So 45,000 we multiply by 0.86, 96, which is 39,132. 39,132. 39,132. Open on a canna. So 39,132. So 39,132. Alafu 12,000 times 0.7561, which is 73.22. Then minus 6,000 times 0.6575, which is according to minus 39.45. I'm going to in the bracket, put it in the bracket, it means minus 33,000 times 0.5718, which is 18,869.4. Then you have minus 15,000 times 0.4972, which are minus 74.58. Then I'm 22,500 times 0.43, 23, which is 97.26.75. Now, NPV. NPV is the total present value cash inflow minus total present value cash outflow. So it wasn't a cash inflow. So our cash inflow kutoka year 1 mpaka year mwisho, we add them together. So we have 39,132 plus 90,73.2 minus 33. Sorry, 39,45 plus 18,869.4 minus 74.58 plus 97.26.75. So itakuwa ni 398.35. Now you minus our initial cost ilikuwa ngapi? Our initial cost ni at year 0, present value cash outflow at year 0, which is 55,500. So what will be your NPV? Itakuwa minus 55,500. So the answer is NPV is 98.35. Now, according to the question, let's go back to the question. We were told to select the project which is viable. Now, assuming that the projects are mutually exclusive. Now, what did we say about mutually exclusive projects? What did we say about mutually exclusive projects? So, up in Nigeria. Now, to remember that the projects are mutually exclusive. So, what did we say about mutually exclusive projects? We say that mutual exclusive projects are projects which cannot be undertaken simultaneously. So, you can either pick one, but you cannot undertake both of them. So, you can say here. So, to mutual exclusive projects are those projects which cannot be undertaken simultaneously, because they serve a similar purpose. So you can only undertake one at a time. So you can say, since the projects are mutually exclusive, so since the projects are mutually exclusive and they both have and they both have positive NPV, and they both have positive NPV, we can only pick one. We can only pick one project with highest NPV. And therefore, our advice, pick or undertake, pick or undertake project. This is project Y. I take project Y. Project Y, because it has a highest NPV. Because it has highest NPV of 98,898.35. So pick or undertake project Y because it has the highest NPV of 98.35. So that one is about NPV. So that's all about NPV. We can go to the next one. Can you go to the next one, which you call it PI. So profitability index. Let's go to profitability index. So I go back to my original space. So let me delete lab. So the next one is profitability index. Profitability index. So the next one is profitability index. And then profitability index is in form of a ratio. It is form of a ratio of the total present value in comparison with the total initial cost. In comparison with the total initial cost. So let's go to profitability index. Let us go to profitability index. So we go to the original place where we all started. So we talk about profitability index. So sawa. Talk of profitability index. So we talk of profitability index. And nimesema that one is mostly in form of a ratio. It is really in form of a ratio. And what can we say about it? So we can say this is the cost benefit. Refer to cost benefit ratio. So this refers to cost benefit ratio. So this refers to cost benefit ratio, which compares the total present value, which compares the total present value, total present value. So in the bracket, present value cash inflow with the total initial cost, with the total initial cost, which is present value of cash outflow. So it compares. So this refers to the cost. This refers to the cost benefit ratio, which compares the total present value, that is the present value cash inflows, with the total initial cost, that is the present value cash outflows. And then you can also say PI, profitability index, is used to rank projects. Profitability index is used to rank projects based on capital rationing, based on capital rationing. Now I think we shall introduce capital rationing. Ndio tufanye swali yote yenye combine. Capital rationing. So that is about PI. Sawa. So let us do it. Let us talk about capital rationing kidogo before we add anything else. It is important. So capital rationing is a situation where the firm does not have sufficient funds to undertake all the viable projects. So we can write and say so this occurs where where there's a shortage, where there is a shortage. This occurs where there is a shortage, stroke limitation, of investment fund, of investment fund to undertake all the viable projects, to undertake all the viable projects, all the viable projects. So the same as a situation where the farm does not have sufficient funds to undertake all the viable projects, does not have enough funds to undertake all the viable projects. We can also add this one. Let me see if we have it here. We can say the first situation refers to a situation where there is insufficiency, of fund to undertake all the viable projects. Undertake all the viable projects. So under this situation, of capital rationing, PI is used. PI is used to rank the projects. It's used to rank the projects based on their profitability. So under a situation of capital rationing, PI is used to rank the project based on the capital rationing type of capital rationing. So we have soft and hard. So number one, soft capital rationing. So what is soft capital rationing? So this refers to the insufficiency of funds. So this refers to the insufficiency of capital costs by the factors within the control of management. Iko sawa? Tunasema this refers to the insufficiency of capital caused by the factor within the control of the management. So within the management of the company. So a good example, it is where the firm can borrow money, but they have refused to borrow. So in that case, they can borrow, but they have refused. So it is within their control. So hawana pesa lakini, so they can borrow, but they have refused to borrow. So in that case, we can call it soft capital rationing. Let us move on. The other part. So let us talk about hard capital rationing. Let us talk about hard capital rationing. Number two. hard capital rationing. So let's talk about hard capital rationing. Now, this refers to the interference of funds caused by the factor beyond the control of the management. So this refers to the insufficiency of capital caused by factor which is not within factor beyond the control of the management. That is a good example. So a good example is interest rate. So the managers cannot borrow because the interest rate is high. Now they cannot borrow and they cannot control that one. It's beyond them, so they cannot control interest rate. So that situation, we can call it capital rationing. We have another type of capital rationing. Single period capital rationing. Talk about single period capital rationing. Single period capital rationing, number 3. Single period capital rationing. So single period capital rationing, and we say refer to the definition of capital during the current period. So refers to the insufficiency of capital, the insufficiency of capital during the current period. So during the current period, so insufficiency of capital during the current period. So during the current period. So during the current period. So to go to the other side. Sawa sawa. So we are still moving on pole pole. Tunataka nifike leo part yenyewe, hata tukikuja kesho tutamalizia. Sitaki niachie leo part yenyewe, tukikuja kesho itabidi tumekuja another extra day. Nope. So but I will share the video. Now make sure you watch the video kwa sababu nini ki expire kama sija upload, kumaanisha you cannot access the video. So my subscription is expire kama the other one is expire leo. So expire but nilipa for another account. Sasa so mpaka nilipe hiyo account tena. So for now nime subscribe to another account. So next time I subscribe to the other account so that we can retrieve those videos. Now let us move on. So I think hapo iko sawa. Now we talk about multi-period capital rationing. Number 4. multi-period capital rationing. Multi-period capital rationing. So multi-period capital rationing, and this is where there's a vision of the fund, both in the current and subsequent period. So refers to the insufficiency of capital during current period and subsequent period. So this is a situation where the farm does not have pesa, they don't have money in the current and also in the subsequent period, and also in the subsequent period. Now you can try and do some questions now, since we have introduced most of the important parts. This is how we have introduced most of the important parts. You can try and do some questions. So sijui kama atapata kwa past paper and at which part. Let us go to our past paper. Let us go to our past paper. We introduced some of the questions. Now, before tuende kwa past paper, hii swali tumefanya. Let's calculate PI from this question. So, before I even do a question, so this one December 2023. To December 2023. Walikuwa PI kwa hiyo swali yetu. Question number 1B. Number 1B. Now PI is equal to total present value divided by the total initial cost, or present value cash inflows divided by the present value cash outflow. Now mimi naona project X hapa. So project Y. So project Y PI itakuwa ngapi? So PI will be equal to what? Project Y. So PI ndio niko nayo sijavuta. Now total present value is 65 398.35. We divide it with total initial cost 55,500. So this one is for project Y. That one is for project Y. Itakuwa ngapi? 65. So 65, 398.35 divided by 55,500. So it is 1.17. 1.17. Then you have project X, nimevuta. Project X. So what about project X? So what was the total present value for project X? Yes. Nilivuta, kindly mniambie. Ni ngapi? Total present value of project X nilivuta.
Yes. 60. 441.9.
At 60?
441.9.
Yeah, and then divide na total cost. Total cost yake ilikuwa ngapi? 57 750. It was 57 750. So kumaanisha 60 441.19 divided by 57 750, which is 1.05. So 1.05. Now, the decision criteria. Let's give the decision criteria, and then we pick the projects. So decision criteria tunasema. So decision criteria ama decision rule. Now, if PI is more than one, we accept the project. Then if PI is less than one, we reject the project. Then ya mwisho, if PI is equal to 1, it's the point of indifference. It is the point of indifference. The point of indifference, i.e., no valid rule. I.e., no valid rule. Now, what can we say about this project? Now, because the project is mutually exclusive, you can only pick one. You can say since the project is mutually exclusive, we can only pick one. Tunasema since the project are mutually exclusive, we can only pick one at a time. We can only pick one at a time. Hence, pick project. So you shall pick project Y, pick project Y, because it has the highest PI. Since it has the highest PI, since it has the highest PI, since it has the highest PI. Now, let's go to our past paper again. We look for another question concerning that one. So let us go to we sitting. Let's go to May 2018. May 2018 question 4. So May 2018 question 4. I think May 2018. May 2018. May 2018. May 2018. Question 4C. May 2018, question 4C. Sasa, May 2018. So tuteremke hapo mbio mbio. Or we start from tomorrow kesho. Hata mimi nasikia nimechoka. We can start from there, si ndio? We have consumed around 1 hour 47 minutes. We can start from there tomorrow. Sivyo?
Yes.
So good night. Shall meet tomorrow.